The Dallas Mavericks will be better next season for one reason. I'm going to tell you what that is and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everyday, or subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section, what's the biggest reason the Mavericks will be better next season, according to you? This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. If you want to support the show, text us. Get text alerts from us on Mavs rumors and more. You can literally text us straight from your phone. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description. Text the number on the screen. Feels good to be in the same city as Lionel Messi right now. I'm recording as that match is happening. And yeah, feels good. I think he just hit a free kick. Amazing. Isaac out today. We will be getting into why the Dallas Mavericks will be better. I've got one thing that I've been holding on to. I've just been holding on to this stat and holding on to a couple of things that I want to share today for the reasons why the Dallas Mavericks will be better. And so I'm going to get into that. It's going to start with Luka and Kyrie. It's going to end with you feeling better about the Dallas Mavericks next season. But let's start here. Last we spoke, Luka and Slovenia were playing a FIBA World Cup preparation game against Greece, and Luka Doncic banged knees. He went out, and then he didn't come back in the second half. We've gotten several updates, and one of the updates came literally when I was done recording. I updated it in the YouTube comments, but according to Mark Stein, Luka Doncic did not sustain an injury and was only scheduled to play in the first half of Slovenia's road exhibition game in Greece. So that was the plan all along. He was only going to play in the first half, so there was no worry. I wasn't worried about the injury just looking at it in general. I thought it was weird he didn't play, but I thought they were just playing it safe. Hey, let's just play it safe, not put him out there. So all indications, Luka Doncic is totally fine from his injury. We'll continue to cover Slovenia games. Vlako Čančar from Slovenia and the Denver Nuggets does not seem like his is very good. I think ACL was mentioned there a couple of times, so I don't expect to see him anymore in these FIBA games. But the Slovenia has another game Tuesday in the U.S. I think it's Wednesday in Europe, but it'll be Tuesday, Slovenia versus Croatia, I believe, and so we'll cover that game and cover all the rest of them. We'll probably cover Australia as well. Those start next Monday, and so we'll have all of those here for you. Luka Doncic's foundation also is helping with all the floods in Slovenia. I wasn't aware of this until after I recorded the other day as well. There's a ton of devastating floods in Slovenia. Luka Doncic's foundation is helping out. There's some links where you can donate if you want to help that, and love to see Luka and his foundation getting involved in that. Also, Dirk Nowitzki will be put in the Hall of Fame in Springfield, in the NBA Hall of Fame this upcoming weekend. We'll cover that as well. Isaac Harris will be there on the ground, and he'll tell you all the things that you need to know and everything that happened there. I'm excited to hear the stories that he's going to share just being there and seeing everything. I'm excited for him. So we'll have you covered here. Still 5 days a week. Still Dallas Mavericks. Locked On Dallas Mavericks every day. All right. The Dallas Mavericks will be better next season. The one reason that stands out to me, and this is not the one reason that I teased earlier, Luka and Kyrie got to get on the same page. They just have to, and I think they will. I think that you think about how they came together last year. So trade happens. Kyrie Irving starts, in February. Luka Doncic is out. His first 2 games, you're feeling good about it. And then Luka Doncic comes back, and then they play 7 games together, and then Luka's out, and then Kyrie's out, and then they play 7 straight games together, and then it's kind of it. Together, they were 5-11 in the games that they played. When just Luka played after the trade, Mavs were 0-2. When just Kyrie played, they were 3-1. When both of them were out, and I'm counting the Chicago game where Luka only played 1 quarter, the Mavericks were 1-4. Luka and Kyrie basically only played 2 7-game stretches together. That's it. Last year, I mean, they didn't get a lot of chance to get on the same page. And it was basically only games. They didn't have a ton of practices to work, to get together. One of the things that Kyrie mentioned when he got traded that just rings through my head over and over again is, I've never been traded midseason. That was Kyrie's first time getting traded, getting introduced to a new team. He's supposed to be, the second best player on the team, and all of a sudden he's getting introduced to this team with all these concepts and defenses and hierarchy with Luka and all these, and coach and all these things that he's having to get used to in the middle of a season. And all of a sudden the Mavericks are like, hey, every single game that we play matters the mostest. Like, imagine that situation. It was just in any turn that something wrong could happen, it did. And so if Luka and Kyrie just get on the same page, I'm going to share a couple stats a little bit later, that if they just get on the same page in a couple areas, they're going to be fine. Like, they're just going to be right back to, all right, fine, this team is a competent team again. But they just didn't have the chance. And so next year, it's got to be Luka. There's got to be such an emphasis on Luka and Kyrie, their chemistry together, them late in games. Late in games is going to be massive. That's one of the things I'm going to share. But those two have to get on the same page. I'm looking forward to a training camp with them. I love seeing Kyrie Irving posting about Luka, posting about Luka in Slovenia and being excited for him and cheering him on and being a cheerleader for him. I love that. Love to see him posting that. And then also we saw some tweets from Kyrie that were about the Mavericks and were about him like, hey, put us on notice. We're coming. And you love to see that, because one of the things that we've been worried about Kyrie is that he isn't in it. He's not dedicated. He's not, dedicated to the team. He's dedicated to basketball. We know that he'll play basketball when he wants to, but he loves the game, loves the sport. And then, somebody posted his 2016 NBA Finals stats the other day. He said, I don't want any credit or validation. I just want to get back to the stage and win. And that's what Luka wants too. They want the same things on the court. They want to get back there. Kyrie's willing to do anything on the court to get back there. We've seen that. We've seen him be selfless. Basketball Forever also posted this timeline of Kyrie where it was, all the playoff losses and anytime he's been eliminated since he left LeBron. And it's, he missed the playoffs. He lost in the second round, missed the playoffs, injured, lost in the second round, swept in the first round, and then missed the play-in last year. And he commented on that one and said, pin this tweet. See what happens in the next few years. You love that. You love to see that, especially him saying, look, see what happens in the next few years, dedicating himself to the Mavericks, saying, it's us. I'm going to prove in the next few years we're going to be back. We're going to be back there. From anybody else, you would say, cool. Everybody says that. But for Kyrie to dedicate himself, we've been worried about him as a flight risk. We've been worried about him. Is he going to be upset that this team didn't win last year? Or is he going to take it personally? It seems like he's taking it personally. And these posts are making it personal because they're saying Kyrie is one of the reasons why his teams haven't won since he left LeBron. Shrug. I didn't see that to be the case with the Mavericks last year. But I love to see Kyrie Irving saying he's dedicated to the Mavericks next year and dedicated the next couple of years even to get better. And for Luka and Kyrie to get back together, like, those guys have to get on the same page. Get on the same page late in games. Get on the same page when you're playing next to each other. Who has the ball? I think Kyrie came in, and one of the things that I did like about what I saw from him is that he knew right away, this is Luka's team. He's the best player on the team. And Kyrie's willing to play next to a guy like that. LeBron, Durant, like, he's played next to even, I wouldn't throw Tatum in his time in Boston out there, but he's played with better players on the court, and he's been willing to take that second spot. And you'd love to see it from him. So I think that's something that I've really, I'm encouraged seeing that from Kyrie tweeting that. And I think those guys with the training camp and getting together over the offseason just a couple times, or just maybe hopefully we get the Luka and Kyrie have started the practices before training camp even starts. They've met in Dallas. They're having runs in the Mavericks practice facility. Like, hopefully we get to see that kind of stuff. But even if we don't, just them getting together in training camp will just make this team better overall. But coming up, I've got the reason why they're going to be better as a team. Luka and Kyrie getting together is one thing, but the reason why the team's going to be better is this. I'll tell you about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel has you covered for all the odds and lines. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. So you're like, hey, I'm a Bengals fan. I'm going to bet on the Bengals. Or, hey, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm going to bet on the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. And deep in your thoughts, you're like, do I really think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're one of those Cowboys fans that just hopes they win it, which is all of them, and then doesn't expect them. You can win if they win the regular season too, so check that out. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl. You'll get bonus bets for every victory in the regular season. That's super awesome. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of this show, part of the Raccoon Squad, being an everydayer. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tomorrow's show, Isaac should be back. He's sick today, and so he should be back, and we'll talk more Dallas Mavericks, break down some of the things we've seen, and then, of course, we will have the Slovenia games. We'll probably keep doing bonuses on these preparation games. As soon as they start playing the World Cup, we'll do them as full episodes, but for these preparation games, we'll continue to do bonus episodes for those. All right, Isaac, I told you guys I'm going to tell you why they'll be better. Follow me on some of these stats. Last season, the Dallas Mavericks played 55 clutch games. That means the Dallas Mavericks in the last 5 minutes the score was within 5. So they're within striking distance. It was a clutch game. Came down to the end. They had a chance late. In 55 games. That's 55 of 82. Now, they won some of those. They lost some of those. I think they were 26 and 29 in those games. 29 clutch losses. But 55 total clutch games is the most it was the most last season. And it was the most since 2008, 2009. What were you doing in 2008, 2009? Because the NBA had, because that was the last time some team played more than 55 clutch games. It was the Pistons and the Pacers back in 09, 08. Who was even on the Pistons back in 2009, 2008? Was Carlisle the coach of the Pacers back then? 2008, 2009. It was not Rick Carlisle. He had just left. He had just joined the Mavericks. That's right. He had just joined the Mavericks. But I mean, you're talking about going back to that Pacers team. That's Danny Granger, Mike Dunleavy, TJ Ford, Troy Murphy. Maybe some 22-year-old Roy Hibbert on that team. I mean, you're talking a long time ago. That's the last time a team played more than 55 clutch games. The Mavericks played so many close games. They couldn't close anybody out. They just couldn't close anybody out. The Mavericks had 29 clutch losses. Utah had the same amount this season, but there's not many teams that had the most, like the Pacers last season had 34 clutch losses. You have to go back to 2017-18 for a team that had more than 29 clutch losses. So you're talking historic numbers. This is the most clutch losses and the most clutch games in a long time. So the Mavericks played a ton of clutch games. They were in a ton of close games. Luka had to exert a ton of energy early in these games. He's playing the whole first quarter, half the second quarter, whole third quarter, then fourth quarter. You're like, all right, bring us home, Luka. We're down by 5, and you got to bring us back and win the game. It's like, here's the stat that blew my mind, though. Last season, Dallas lost 12 games by 1 to 3 points. So really tight loss. So like they lost the game by that many. Not just within. They lost the game by 1 to 3 points. Toronto lost 10. That was the next closest team. Only 4 other teams in the last 10 years have won 12 games by 1 to 3 points. So the Mavericks lost more games by 1 to 3 points than like any team in the last 10 years. That's crazy. The Dallas Mavericks will be better because they'll be on the same page. Luka and Kyrie will get on the same page. They'll figure out a way to close some of these games out, and they won't lose 12 games by 1 to 3 points. It just won't happen. In the last 15 years, only 10 teams have lost as many games by 1 to 3 points. So you go back 15 years, only 10 teams have lost 12 games. It's wild. You look at some of those games that they lost last year. Let's just go through them, because if you start going through these games, you're like, all right, well, what are these games that the Mavericks lost, and why will they not lose them next year? First game of the year, so they lost 12 games by 1 to 3 points. They lost to Denver, Golden State, Cleveland, Phoenix, the Lakers. 5 of those losses, 5 of the 12, happened after the Kyrie trade. That's crazy. If 12 is a ton, imagine 5 happening in that short a window with Kyrie, when Kyrie joined the Mavericks. Here are the games. Phoenix, first game of the year, the Mavericks led by 3. They led the game with 3 minutes left. They were up by 15 with about 8 minutes left. They had a lead late. Pelicans, back in October, Mavericks had a lead. They were up by 7 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. They led late. They lost that game. That was without Zion, Ingram, Herb Jones. Mavericks played Denver without Jokic, Murray, Aaron Gordon. Mavericks had a lead late with like a minute 30 left. You're starting to see a trend. These first 3, the Mavericks had a lead late, lost it. Milwaukee, this was the game in December when the Mavericks missed a ton of free throws late. They were up with 30 seconds left, but they went 10 of 24 from the free throw line overall, 7 of 15 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. They missed a ton of free throws late. Kyrie's not missing those free throws. Then later in December, there was a Kemba Walker game. Luka didn't play. Again, these are games the Mavericks lost by 1 to 3 points. They lost 12 of them, and that's the most by any team in the last 10 years. In January, they played against Washington. KP didn't play that game. Mavericks had a lead late with a minute 45 left. Minnesota, they had a comeback. They didn't lead late. Against the Lakers, Luka and Kyrie both played in this game. This was in February. Mavericks had a lead late. They were up with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. Holiday hit a 3 with 6 seconds left. They were down by 1. The very next game against the Pacers, the Mavericks cut the lead to 2 with 11 seconds left. Kyrie had a chance to win the game with 1 second left, missed the game winner. Golden State in March, Kyrie didn't play, but the Mavericks had a lead with 3 minutes left in this game, couldn't close it out. In April against Atlanta, this was the JaVale McGee Christian Wood game. Luka and Kyrie both played. Kyrie had 41. Christian Wood missed the game-tying free throw. Then JaVale misses a free throw that could win them the game, but he hits one to force overtime. They were tied with 25 seconds left in overtime. I mean, listen to all these games. All these games, the Mavericks had a lead late and couldn't finish it out. You get Luka and Kyrie on the same page together. You get a training camp under the belt. You get everybody on the same page, and then you win these games. There's a reason why no teams play 55 clutch games. It doesn't happen. There's a reason why teams don't lose 12 games by 1 to 3 points. It just doesn't happen. They'll get back on the same page. And that just blew my mind how many of those games the Mavericks lost by such close margins. You change a couple things, you get a little better. You get a little bit more on the same page. You win, I don't know, half of those games. You win half of those games, all of a sudden this team is what, 42 and 40. And you're in the play-in, and you could be in the playoffs, and you never know. I mean, just changing some of those games. And I think that they absolutely will. I think that it's wild that it got to that point last year, which makes last year such an outlier, how many close games they lost. And I'm excited to see how they turn it around. Coming up, let's talk about some other stats that I have that will indicate why the Mavericks will be better than last year and some of the reasons why they'll be better. Let's talk about that coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
All right, Isaac, let's talk about some reasons why the Mavericks will be better next season. So I talked about all the clutch games, all the clutch losses, all that. Point differential, the difference between how many points you score and how many points your opponent scores over the course of a whole season, average. The Mavericks finished with around the same point differential, like within 1 point, which is, there's a window there. Mavericks finished with a positive point differential and around the same point differential as the Clippers and the Heat, who are both 44 and 38. The Lakers, who are 43 and 39. The Wolves, who are 42 and 40. The Hawks, who are 41 and 41. And the Mavericks were 38-44. So like some of these teams are 6 games over 500 and the Mavericks were 6 games under 500. Think about that swing. They had the same point differential as teams that were 6 games over 500. The Mavericks were 6 games under 500. Wild. Incredible, weird, bad luck last season that some was self-inflicted. Some of it was just sometimes the bounce of the ball. The Mavericks win differential, meaning, cleaning the glass takes all of your advanced statistics and looks at, if we look at your advanced statistics, offensive rating, defensive rating, rebound percentage, all that kind of stuff, turnover percentage, all that. How many games should you have won or lost compared to your record? The Mavericks were minus 3.7, meaning they should have had like 4 more wins last season, compared to their numbers. 4 more wins would have taken them again from 38-44 to 42-40. Which is what I said earlier about their clutch games. So cleaning the glass must have taken that into comparison too. The Mavericks were 6th in offensive rating, 23rd in defensive rating, meaning they were great on offense, terrible on defense. Some of these teams last year had very similar ratings. The Kings, 1st in offense, 25th in defense. They were worse than the Mavericks on defense. The Kings were worse than the Mavericks on defense last year. They were 48-34. They were 10 wins better than the Mavericks last year. They had the same exact offensive rating, defensive rating. It's these clutch games, close games. Mavericks couldn't close. The Knicks were 2nd in offensive rating, 19th in defensive rating. They were 47-35. Same ratings as the Mavericks, basically. The Hawks were 9th in offensive rating, 21st defensive rating. They were 41-41. Couple of reasons they'll be better besides those stats. So you look at their advanced stats, you look at their point differential, win differential, offense, defensive rating, they should have been better than they were. And I think it's because of some of those really close games that they lost. The ball bounced the wrong way. Mavericks lose 12 of those games by 1 to 3 points, which is an insane number. And that's the team you have. Reasons they'll be better. Luka and Kyrie having a training camp under their belt. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Where is it? Do I have Kool-Aid? It's water, but hey. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. They'll be better than they were last. They'll be better than 5-11. I don't have to drink much Kool-Aid to think that the Mavericks will be better with Kyrie and Luka getting a training camp. I also think sneakily, committing to Josh Green and Grant Williams is going to be better than Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock to start last season coming off a really deep playoff run. Remember what Dorian and Reggie looked like at the beginning of last season. They played the most minutes in the playoffs the year before. Reggie had taken a step back. Dorian Finney-Smith was okay, but it wasn't great. And I think a young Josh Green, a young Grant Williams that's hungry, ready to prove himself at another level. Grant Williams is a better three-point shooter than either of those guys. Both Josh Green and Grant Williams can also put the ball on the deck. They can drive. They can finish at the rim. That's something that Dorian and Reggie just wouldn't even really try. Dorian would do it a little bit, but Reggie Bullock wouldn't even try it. I mean, having that to your offense, that to me makes it better. Those guys are also stronger. Josh Green and Grant Williams are both stronger than Dorian and Reggie. So you're talking about different players that they can guard. Grant Williams can guard centers. So you're talking about versatility for them. They're going to struggle at point of attack. They're going to struggle to defend the point of attack. Hey, everyone does in the NBA. It's not an easy thing to do. That's why the Mavericks have their offense their defense the way that it is. They rotate. You can pick up a guy. There's going to be switches. There's going to be mismatches. Like that's going to be Luka and Kyrie are going to be switched onto a bunch of players they don't want. They understand that. The Mavericks defense understands that. But so they'll struggle with that a little bit, but I think they're better with Josh Green and Grant Williams to start the year than they were with Dorian and Reggie the year before. Especially coming off those, all those playoff minutes they played. But think about the versatility on offense. Think about the strength and maybe even the speed. Josh Green's faster than Dorian and Reggie. I don't think Grant Williams is faster than either one of them. And then you look at their deep depth. I've made this point before, but I want to make it again. Think about the deep depth on this team. Your top 7 or so is almost the same as it was last season. It is changed. You probably start with Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, Grant Williams. And then Dwight Powell probably starts at center, unless Rashawn Holmes makes a big push at training camp. Which he could. So you probably start with that. Got Tim Hardaway coming off the bench, feeling okay about it. Got Jaden Hardy coming off the bench in year 2, feeling good about that. And think about your deep depth. Christian Wood becomes Rashawn Holmes. You're losing some. You're losing 3-point shooting and you're losing offensive creation and you're gaining a better pick and roll guy. You're gaining maybe some stability for Jason Kidd. That one's a wash to me, maybe. Davis Bertans turns into Derek Lively. Huge upgrade in terms of things that the Mavericks need in rim protection, rebounding, lots of things. Turning Justin Holiday into Omax. I think that's going to be a huge upgrade. In size, huge upgrade in wingspan, things that you can do off the dribble. You're turning Theo Pinson into Seth Curry, basically. That's a huge upgrade there. You're turning Frank Ntilikina into Dante Exum. I think that could also be a big upgrade as well.
People forget about Frank.
Even though that's true. The Mavericks played 27 games after the Kyrie trade. They played 6,000 minutes. Here's who got some of those minutes. Reggie Bullock played 786 minutes. That's the most on the team. He now turns into Grant Williams. I think that'll be an upgrade. Christian Wood played 500 minutes. That was 6th on the team. He now becomes Rashawn Holmes, Derek Lively combo, all that. Justin Holiday played almost 300 minutes. That was 10th on the team. He now becomes Olivier-Maxance Prosper. Frank Ntilikina played 220 minutes. He now becomes Dante Exum. Theo Pinson played 107 minutes. Like, these guys did play minutes down the stretch because there was a lot of injuries. There's a lot of stuff the Mavericks needed to figure out. And so I think your deep depth on this team is going to help. I think that's an upgrade. Just look at them as a group. Christian Wood, Davis Bertans, Justin Holiday, Theo Pinson, Frank Ntilikina. Turning into Rashawn Holmes, Derek Lively, Omax, Seth Curry, and Dante Exum. That's an upgrade to me. I think they'll be better next season having that as your deep depth guys. So again, I think Luka and Kyrie get on the same page in a training camp, also coming in healthy. Knock on wood for Luka in Slovenia in FIBA. If he stays healthy and comes into the season, Kyrie, with all his runs and things that he's doing, he'll come into the season healthy. If both those guys come in healthy, even that's just a bonus because these guys only played 16 games together last year, and they were back and forth. They only played 2 7-game stretches, 2 separate 7-game straight stretches. Like, that's it. They didn't have a lot of time to get on the same page. All practices, training camps, all that. Josh Green and Grant Williams, I think, is going to be a better starting wing duo than what Dorian and Reggie were to start the season last year. And if that's the case, then you're already better as a team. And then I think your deep depth, turning some of the deep end of the bench guys into the end of the bench guys the Mavericks have now. The Mavericks are looking at who's not going to get minutes. Remember that episode I did a couple weeks ago? Who loses out? Do the rookies even get playing time? Is another one of my questions. But the deep depth is possible. So, again, the Mavericks will be better this season. They will not lose 12 games by 1 to 3 points, which was the most in the last 10 years, except for one team. That's crazy. So, let me know in the comment section, what's one reason you think the Mavericks will be definitely better next season. We'll be back tomorrow with me and Isaac breaking down all kinds of more Maverick stuff and some more on Slovenia and FIBA on Tuesday. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom!